All right, so we looked at strings. Let's now turn our attention to focusing on integers and floats. Now, floats, if you've never heard that term used before, it's floating point number. It's decimal numbers. So let's hop into an IRB session here and take a look at integers and floats. So integers in Ruby are just like you would think. You can write numbers like 2, and you can do all your kind of standard mathematical operations on them. We can use the plus operator, as we've seen previously. 2 plus 2 is 4. You can do longer numbers. You can multiply them, get the results that you mostly expect. I'll get into why I say mostly in a moment here. But one other cool little thing is if you have like a really large number, and let's say like we want to do like 2 million times 40 or something right now, or 2 million times 4. So let's do write out 2 million. Now it's kind of hard to tell what this number is at a quick glance. One nicety in Ruby is that you can actually separate digits with an underscore. So we can say 2 underscore 3 zeros. Now, so that would work for 2,000 right there. And we could add another underscore and add the remaining 3 zeros to represent 2 million. So now you can easily see, that this is number is 2 million versus having everything squished together, and you have to really kind of, count how many zeros you have on the end of this. So now we can do 2 million times 4, and then we can get back 8 million. Now, unfortunately, when you do this, it does not return the number that way with the space separated, underscore separating the digits. But as far as writing it and looking at it, you can do that if need be, if it helps you out there. So again, we can do all your standard mathematical operations. So we have, as we've seen, plus 2 plus 2. We can do 2 minus 2. Oops. 2 minus 2 gives us back 0. We can get negative numbers back, negative 6. You can multiply numbers. 2 times 2 is 4. You can divide numbers. 8 divided by 2. So these are the operators that you would do to get those operations. So you do the star and then the / for division. There's also a what's called a modulus operator. So, for example, if we wanted to see what the remainder of, say, 20 divided by 6 is, you can do 20, and then the modulus operator is just the percent sign. And then, so 20 remainder is 6, it gives us back 2. Now, one thing you'll notice in Ruby is that integers, if you do integer division and it doesn't go into the number equally, you actually don't get an accurate result back. So let's look at what I mean by that. If we do 10 divided by 3, we'll see that we actually get back the number 3 when really we should be getting like 3.33333, repeating. So in order to get an accurate or a more accurate result, what we need to do is one of these numbers needs to be a float. So if we recall that last expression and we changed 3 to 3.0, and we hit enter, then we see we get a more accurate result here of the division. So one other interesting thing here about working with integers and floats in Ruby is that these math operators that we looked at previously, the way we're writing those, like the syntax we're using in all of these expressions here, where we're kind of writing them maybe like you would write them out on paper, it's actually something that Ruby provides for us. It's like a syntactic sugar. You'll hear this term thrown around in Ruby and in Rails. But what's really going on here behind the scenes is that plus and minus and times and stuff, these are actually just methods that take arguments and that are called on objects. So if we take this first example here, our simple 2 plus 2, we can actually write this like a method call. So if we do 2 dot plus, and then we open up a set of parentheses and we pass another argument here, so another integer or a float. Let's do another integer here. If we pass in 4 here and close this argument list, if we hit enter here, we'll see it actually works just fine. So it's the same as writing 2 plus 4, just like this. This way is definitely nicer or easier on the eyes than doing something like this. But just know that behind the scenes, what really is going on here when you do stuff like this is that Ruby is just, calling a method on an object and then passing this second parameter or argument along to the method as an argument. So that's something interesting to note there. And then a couple other things. Let's start getting into some methods for integers. So if we take the number 10, for example, we go back to 10 divided by 3, we saw that this just returns an integer 3, which doesn't exactly give an accurate representation of how this division, option or operation works here, or the result of that division. And we saw previously that we could just do 2.0 or 3.0. I'm sorry. We can also call a method on the integer 3 to convert it to a float. So we can say 3.2_f, which is short for to float. And if we hit enter there, we can see that we get the result that we previously got. And if we just do 3.2f, we can see that Ruby does indeed convert that over to a float. Now, alternatively, we can convert a float to an integer. So if we take the 3.0 example and we call it 2_I, which is short for to integer here, if we hit integer or hit enter, we can see that we get 3 back. So you can convert from one to the other. Also, if we have a string of, say, 3, we can actually convert this to an integer by calling that toI method on it. So we say the string of 3.toI, we get back the integer of 3. Conversely, if we say 3.toS, which is short for toString, we can see that Ruby will take our integer 3 and convert it into a string of 3. So in addition to these mathematical operators, this plus and minus and multiplication, division, and so forth, and these initial methods here that we looked at, 2f and 2i, we also have comparison operators in Ruby. So we can do things like, is 3 greater than 8? That returns back false. We can do less than, so that'll give us back true. We can also check for exact equality, so we can say, is 3 equal to 3? It is. We can also ask if 3 is not equal to 5 or 6, sorry, and that will turn true. My terminal here converts the exclamation point equals to this format here, but in Ruby it would be the exclamation point and then followed by, let me just put a space here so we can see, followed by an equal sign, but together. Let's see, actually I can open up VS Code and I can write that out in a file here. I'm just going to click into our running programs example here. So we would write that, for example, like this. So is 3 not equal to 5? And if we were to run this, we would see that we would get true back. In fact, let's go ahead and run it. So let's do a put statement right here. We'll save this file, go back to our terminal, and we will say Ruby running programs.rb. So in addition to all the other stuff in the file, the last thing we see here printed out to the terminal is true. That is the result of this expression right here being evaluated and then printed. So we also have in Ruby what's called the spaceship operator, and that allows us to do things like for less than equals greater than, let's say for example 7. So we hit enter here, we see that we get -1 back. So what this is telling us here is the -1 indicates that the first object is less than the second object. If the first number is larger than the second one, so we'll see here, let's swap these around. If we do 7 less than equals greater than 4, we will see that we will get 1 back now. So that means that the first object is larger than the second, in this case the integer. If they are the same, we will get back 0, as we will see right here. So 4 less than equals greater than 4 gives us back 0, meaning that the two values are equal. Let's look at a few more methods here on integers. So if we have like a negative number, for example, we can say -5.abs to get the absolute value there. And if you're curious and want to know more methods available on integers and floats, again, we'll be referencing this site quite a bit, but you can go back to the official documentation and scroll down through this list here. And as I mentioned previously, you can see here's the plus method, there's a minus method, a times method. So these are all instance methods. Remember I said that Ruby gives us a syntactic sugar that allows us to write them somewhat how you would do it perhaps on paper without having to call them as methods. But you can see here that they are indeed methods behind the scenes that are being called. Let's look at a few more here. Let's see, even is a good one. So it'll give us back a true or false value based on the number that we pass. So we do even. I believe this property is called the parity. So like the property of an integer being even or odd. I believe that's called parity. So here we do f.even question mark. Again, the question marks usually denote predicate methods. Predicate methods usually return Boolean values, so true or false. So 5 is not even. If we do 4.even, we get true. Similarly, for even, there's an odd method. So if we say 5.odd question mark, we get back true. 4.odd will give us back false. Let's see, going back through some of these. So digits is a good one. If we look at, let's say, like 12.digits, we'll see we haven't gotten into arrays yet, but you can see that it'll split up the number into an array of its individual digits. Another good one here is the times method. The times method now is useful in a number of different ways. I've mostly used it in making seed data in a Rails app. So you can make 10 different users and always have them available in your application. If you ever lose them, you can just rerun your seeds file to populate your database and create however many users you specify at the beginning here. So the way times works is it takes an integer, you call the .times method on it, and then it takes a block. Now you can write, we haven't talked about blocks much yet, but we're going to have a whole section on blocks. Blocks can start with and end with curly braces, or you can do and end keywords. And most people use do or end if you're going to write multiple lines of code inside of the block. If it's short enough to fit on one line, like they've done here in this example, most folks will tend to use curly braces to denote their blocks. But let's look at the times method real quick. So let's say 5.times, we'll say do. In this case, I'll show 2 examples. So here's with the do keyword, and I can hit enter right here, and I can just say puts hello world, and then we will hit enter, and then put an end keyword there. And if I hit enter right here, we will see hello world output to the terminal 5 times, and it actually returns back the integer. Now, well, real quick, let me go back here and do it with a curly brace version so you can see that. So 5.times, open curly brace, puts hello world, the same thing as before, and it will end the curly brace. If we hit enter right here, we get the same result output to the screen. We also get 5 returned from this method, which is the number that we specified here, the integer that we specified at the front. And then let's see, let's look at another option we can do here. So you can optionally pass in and take an argument here inside this block. So we do 5.times, and then I'll go back to the do keyword, and then we do a vertical pipe, and I'm just going to say in. Now we will cover blocks in more depth in a future lesson. So for right now, I just want to show you kind of how this method works. So what we'll do here, so we're taking in a block argument. We're just naming that that value. There's a variable here. We're naming it in so that we can use it inside the block here. So what we can do inside our block, now that we've allowed that block variable to come in, we can do puts, let's say hello world, and then let's do some interpolation here. So let's say hash open curly brace, in, close curly brace, end double quotes there, and then hit enter, and then end off the block. And then if I hit enter here, we'll see the value of in each time this code inside the block executes, in will increase in this value. So if we hit enter here, we can see that it actually starts at 0, not 1, like you might expect. So that's why we see hello world 0 all the way up to 4. But we do see the result outputted 5 times, and then it still returns back to us 5, the integer here. So the times method is really cool. Maybe we'll see some more of this in the Rails section, like I mentioned, making some seed data to work with. We can quickly make 100 users if we wanted to, and just say, inside the block here that we passed at times, user.create, and then we could say user and then interpolate the value of in. If we pull off this block argument here, we can use that to say like user one. We could say user.create, and then for their name, for example, we could say user and then interpolate in, and then we could even say in plus 1, so that instead of getting user 0, it would start at 1 and go through and create 100 users for us, for example. But we'll see more about blocks in the future, and see more hopefully about seed data and making that stuff when we get into the Rails section. And actually, let's go look at some float methods now. So let's get back over here. We'll go to home, and then I'll scroll down this list, find the float class right here, and then we can see some of the methods available on it. It has a lot of the same methods that integer has available on it. But let's see, seal is a good one. So let's go back to our IRB session, and let's do 4.5.seal, and that gives us back 5. Now if we click on the seal method, let's look and see what it does. It returns the smallest number greater than or equal to self with a precision of in digits, decimal digits. So you can see here some example usages of seal, which is a fun one here. And then let's go back up. So floor is another good one that's used in floats. So if we recall this one, 4.5.floor, we can see that we get back 4. So here, these are your rounding numbers, or rounding type methods here. So we can go down with floor, up with seal. I guess kind of makes sense if you think about the names. Ceilings would be up, floors are at the bottom. Let's see. Let's look at some other ones here. We have round. So round is a good one. We can do, let's bring back our example here, 4.5.round, and we will get 5. If we say 4.4.round, we get 4. If we do 4.4.seal, we still get 5. 4.4.floor, we will still get 4. Let's see, there's also positive and negative methods. Now these are available on integer as well. So if we say -1.positive, again it's a predicate method, that will be false. And if we say -1.negative, that would be true. And again we can do -1 point something dot positive, false. If we do -1.4 dot negative, we'll get back true. So again, at the end of this video, I would advise, come over here to the documentation for both integer and float, and kind of look at the methods here, experiment in an IRB session with calling them on different integer or float values. Just trying to get a better understanding. And again, you can click on any of these methods. It will take you straight to the documentation for that method. Most of them have examples. And again, if you don't really understand, try playing around more with your own examples in IRB. So with that, let's go ahead and end this video here, and I will see you in the next one.